Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome again to Belle's Beyond Podcast by Belle Sisters. My name is Massey Chi, and I am your beloved host. And I have here with me Karen, who is in the season of intentional reinvention. She's a leader. She's currently applying her lived experience, strategic insights, and hard-earned wisdom in applying to what comes next. And she also talks about growth. She speaks about burnout, pivot, self-trust, and after listening to Karen today, I am sure you'll walk away with perspective and practical frameworks where you can evolve without apology. So, hello, Karen.
Hello, how are you?
I am doing amazing. How are you?
I'm good. I'm here in very cold Washington, D.C.
Yes, the storm is not doing anyone any favors these days. Um, but yeah, so thank you for joining us, Karen. So I do want to ask, you're a leader and you are someone who is, pivoting into AI. The first thing I want to understand is how did you figure out you wanted to pivot into AI? How was it AI that you decided to pick? And how has that pivot been working for you? Just tell us your journey.
So, first of all, I believe that no matter the hardships of the journey, that God directs our steps.
Mhm.
So, I was a chief marketing officer. I worked in the nonprofit space. I had a great job, made good money. And in 2023, I think ChatGPT 3.5 came out. And maybe it was 2024. ChatGPT 3.5 came out, and I immediately signed up for it and started playing with it. And if those of you that remember ChatGPT when it first came out, it was pretty horrible. But I remember thinking, sitting in my purview, thinking about my job, thinking about the vendors I hired, thinking about the people that supported my marketing world and my marketing team, and thinking, this is a threat. If this technology takes off, what will it do to all of the people who are marketers, who are out creating things and selling things and producing things? And so I started to learn and play with it. And then at the end of 2024, my job went away right after the election, right around the holidays. My company, they went out of business, to be really honest. And so that was heartbreaking. It was a shock and it was, traumatic. And if you lose your job, anyone that has lost their job, you go through the 5 stages of grief. That's just what happened. And
Mhm.
so then there was an election, and we had a new president, and I lived in Washington, D.C. So then it was Doge, Doge, Doge. People were losing their jobs, people were losing their contracts, and it was a pretty depressing time. And I said to myself, okay, I can either be depressed or I can do something about it. And I had been playing with AI, I had been creating with AI. And I said, okay, well, let me learn more about this industry that is disrupting the marketing and creative industry.
Mhm.
And so I started studying and studying, and one path led to another path, which led to another path. And then I signed up for a class somewhere around June of 2025. And when I finished that class, they recommended me for another class. And so then I took another class, got another certificate. And then all of a sudden, this ecosystem, this world opened up for me.
Mhm.
And I started getting recommended to apply for different support systems, apply for entry into different groups. And now I laugh. I'm probably in 8 different Slack channels right now. And I have jobs and opportunities that are emailed to me before the job even is announced. And I look at where I am and how I've changed in the past year. And had I stayed in that job, I wouldn't be here. And had I stayed in the job, I wouldn't have had time to study. And had I stayed in that job, I wouldn't be as knowledgeable about AI as I am today. So, as difficult as 2025 was for me, it has also been one of my biggest blessings in life. And I can look back today and say, wow, and be thankful and full of gratitude. And so I feel like I'm a salamander that went through the fire, and on the other side is just tremendous abundance and opportunity.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, first of all, that is quite inspiring, just for a couple of reasons, right? The first thing is, what this is telling me is that you're an early adopter because you started using ChatGPT before, even fully went viral and people were using it. It also tells me that you have insight because you could see, even as it was crappy then, it's not the version we're using now. It was crappy then, but you had insight. You could see, it was like you could see the future. You knew that it was going to disrupt the market. But now, instead of, staying back and crying over it because, hey, it's already out there. And I mean, of course, they're going to go ahead with it. You started to do something. I really find that very inspirational because it's really easy, to just fall back into maybe a depressed mode or, feel very sad or very sorry for ourselves instead of just getting up and pivoting or trying to figure out another way. Um, so yeah, I do applaud that. And then I also wanted to touch on the part you talked about losing contracts because that's where my business was last year. Um, Early last year, there was a change in policies. There were a lot of things that were changed, and yeah, so many contracts got canceled, and some of my clients also canceled theirs. So, that was a really trying period, and I just think it's wonderful that you maneuvered through all of that and came out unscathed. Um,
Oh, no, I have the scars from it.
okay, okay,
I
okay.
don't
The
I don't
scars are there.
I don't want people to think I don't have the scars. I have the scars from it.
Yeah,
I cannot wait to share my testimony. So people who are going to see this, they're getting a preview of
a
it.
preview of it.
I
Yeah.
was depressed. I was depressed for a good 3 months of last.
Mhm.
I too lost contracts opportunity. I had
Mhm.
all this education, I had all this experience. So I naively assumed that finding a job would be, a couple of months, maybe 2, 3 months. I had this big Rolodex. So I just thought, oh, it's going to be easy. I'm going to easily find a job. And then that was the
Yeah.
case. And so I was depressed, very depressed. And talking to women like you, I had so many friends here in this region who had big, 6, 7 figure contracts, and they all lost them and they were depressed. So here I'm depressed about my job. They're depressed about losing, these 6, 7 figure contracts.
Mhm.
And to be very honest, the thought that this country, I'm a ninth generation from my family in this country that sacrificed and did so much, and that here I was having this really difficult time finding a job. But I
Mhm.
also, because I was studying I knew that this was the first wave and that there were going to be even more
There
people who
will
are going to
be
lose their
more.
jobs
Yes.
and
Yeah.
how that's going to impact our society, how that's going to impact our sense of self.
Mhm.
Because for so many people, our ego, our sense of who we are is I get up every day and I'm a bus driver, or I get up
Yeah.
every day and I open my coffee shop, or I get up every day and I do this thing. And there are a lot of jobs that are going to go away. And I realized that I couldn't be depressed. I had to do something about it. And that was the studying and pivoting and learning. And I also knew that in my field as a marketer, that the AI would just completely decimate it. And so I had to get ahead of that and figure out where I could fit in so that I could work as long as possible.
Yeah. So where would you say, I mean, on getting ahead, where would you say you are right now in that journey?
Oh, wow. I mean, I'm still a babe in the woods, but
Mm,
like I shared with you, now I have things that are recommended to me. You know, I went from, and I share with people how much I love this AI space.
mm-hmm,
I talk to other people who are, on LinkedIn, they're up late at night, sending their resume, they're looking for people to pitch things to. I live in a world in where things are discussed, they never get to LinkedIn, right? Oh, this company is going to have these roles, or think about would you want to work here? It's a totally different world. But as I shared with you, had I not gone through that pain, had I not gone through the depression, had I not sat around and said, how do I make money? How do I survive? How do I figure out how to pivot in this storm? I wouldn't
mm-hmm.
be here at this side.
Yeah.
The doors that are opening for me are incredible. And all I can do is thank God for them. And I'm hoping that I can be a path that other women can follow so that when I make the announcement that I'm doing X, Y, or Z, or that I've landed a fellowship at whatever prestigious entity, that other women, and especially women of color, can look and say,
Mm-hmm,
look what Karen did in her 50s.
mm-hmm,
And she went through the storm, she came out the other side, and that's the path I can follow. And I want to be able to share with women if you see, and we're human. We do not like change and we have fear. And I get all that. But if right now you have a job or a business or a career and you see the handwriting on the wall that AI is going to have a way to get rid of that thing that you're currently making money at, you have to begin to think through, how do I pivot? How do I navigate this? Because what is being worked on right now are automations, agents, robots that are going to go out into a lot of industries and impact a lot of businesses and a lot of industries. So you have to begin to think through, is what I'm doing going to be able to survive 5 years from now?
yeah.
That is the question I pose to a lot of people.
Wow, that's a lot of jam.
It is
Yeah,
a lot of jobs, to be very honest.
yeah.
And whether you like or dislike Elon, and I'm not here to talk about Elon's politics, but Elon says a lot of things about what is coming and what is being worked on. And
Mm,
you don't have to listen to him for anything political, but when he's speaking at Davos or he's speaking at some of these places and he's talking about what he's working on with the robots, what he's working on with some of the things that he's doing, those are jobs that will be leaving as he's implementing what he's doing. And so you have to listen.
mm. So, well, first of all, you said something about guiding women of color, and I wanted to ask if there was a woman listening to this who is in the same position that you were in, roughly a year ago, what would you say to them? How can they even start? What are they searching for?
So this is just affirmation.
Mm,
I have a career coach, and he challenged me a week ago. He said, I need you to start speaking. I need you to start telling people what you are going through. And so, number one, I'm going to start sharing, whether it's on my Instagram, my LinkedIn, or my YouTube, just my process so they can sit and see. how I've navigated it. And
So
then
building in public?
publicly.
Yes.
And two, the next thing is I probably will do more of these, do more podcasts, speak to people, share about my process and what I have gone through. Like I said, I'm looking forward to my full testimony
Yeah.
because what I went through last year was absolute hell. But I'm here on the other side. It's 2026 and I'm on the other side, and I'm so thankful for that. Also, begin to share some of the resources, the things that helped. I mean, not everybody's interested in AI safety, which is my path, but
Mm-hmm.
beginning to say to women, hey, you don't have to be technical. You don't have to be an engineer. You see a lot of people saying, oh, go get your C plus or go get these things. In 5 years, AI is going to be able to do that. So being able to say to people, think about the field you're in, what tools you need to learn, what's going to happen 3, 5 years from now, so that you can begin to plan. Or there are some fields that will be gone. I'm just going to be very honest. I'm not going to tell somebody that, you know, driving for Uber is going to be great 5 years from now because it will be limited. But there are new fields that are going to emerge. So beginning to think through, okay, maybe today I own this, business that goes out and films corporate videos. Well, a lot of that is going to go away because you can write a script and have your avatar do the corporate video. But live and news is still going to be important, but a lot of the traditional AV is going away. So you have to think through, well, what products can I offer my client? What tools can I begin to use so that maybe I expand and I have clients that live in Africa and clients that live in Asia and clients that are in Europe that I'm doing AI videos for and not in person real life videos for. So beginning to think about how you use the tools to help improve your business. And for so many people, we have fear, fear of the unknown, fear that the technology is going to replace us. And so I can start to teach people you can learn how to use the technology for your advantage. And if you understand the technology, you can teach it to other people.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. So basically, look at your field, figure out what AI might replace, but then also look at the emerging fields, emerging job opportunities that could come up as a result of AI, and also learn the tools that will help you perform at your job better.
Right. And
That,
then I want to make one other point,
mm-hmm.
and this is a tough one. This is not easy for people to hear. It's not easy for me to hear. There are fields that AI won't touch right away, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, for a lot of us, including myself, they're not the fields that we were taught to go into. So being open to a pivot and being open to, oh, well, maybe I should go open that coffee shop. Not as glamorous, but people want coffee. People are going to get up and want a cup of coffee and have a croissant or have a breakfast pastry in the morning. Coffee shops make a lot of money. Maybe it's not this beautiful, glamorous senior executive vice president of fill in the bank corporation, but I know that coffee shops aren't going to be replaced by AI.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's I should go open a dry cleaner or open something else, right? And there's nothing wrong with having businesses that people need that touch people. Those are the jobs that aren't easily replaceable. We hear people talking about the trades, construction, plumbing, HVAC, welding. Those are not going to go away right away. But neither is coffee or a dry cleaner or a laundromat. It's not as sexy. It's not as pretty as being senior executive vice president somewhere, but it's good money and it's stable money. And AI is not going to come take over the local coffee shop.
Yes, I really like that you actually pointed that out because, they say that there are certain businesses and jobs that will always survive recession. And, as you said, it's not as glamorous, but, it puts food on the table, it gives you a place, it gives you a roof over your head, so you can still pivot into that as you're thinking of, where else you want to go with your career.
Exactly. Hair salons, barbershops, all of those things are still important and viable. Anything that requires you to deal with another human from a touch point. I
Mhm.
will say, though, the medical field is going to be in trouble in a few years
Mm,
because if think about it, especially surgeons especially, they'll probably be the first to get hit because
I just will elaborate, please. Yeah.
and if I tell people, watch Elon was at Davos a week ago, and he was on Peter Diamandis's podcast at the beginning of the year, and he talked about,
Mhm.
let's say in 5 years, you'll have robots that will be able to do eye surgery or really complex surgeries. And those robots will have a 99.9999999% accuracy. At
Mm,
some point, you and I, we're a little bit older, so we're used to human beings operating on us. But someone younger is going to say, do I want the human who can make a mistake, or do I want the robot that's 99.99999% accurate? And they're going to choose the robot over the
mm.
human. So that is an industry that in the near future is going to be impacted. And think about all of the parents who tell their children to go be doctors. Um, Doctors will still be needed, like just your general practice, but when it comes to surgery, you're going to see a lot more automated, even with things that we're not thinking about, that are coming. And that's why I say to people, you have to start paying attention to the amount of money and what's being invested and what arenas that money and that investment is headed into. And right now, our economy, all this money is being invested in AI, autonomous vehicles, and robotics, and data centers. And there's a reason.
Okay, wow. I'm actually intrigued, and at the risk of sounding at the risk of sounding quite uneducated about AI, because when it comes to AI, I just know the surface level stuff.
Hmm.
However, I am really intrigued, about of course, I know, yes, it's gonna take over certain jobs, when I think about things like content writing, filming. Yes, that's a given. But as you touched on, the surgeon aspect, that piqued my interest because it's not something I would have thought about in the near future, right? It's just, yeah, I'm really intrigued by that.
Most people don't, which is why my career coach is compelling and challenging me to begin to speak out.
Hmm.
Humans are creatures of comfort and
Yeah.
we are used to our normalcy, right? And
Mm.
there's this sense, most people look at AI and think of it like the internet or a tool or an app that can be turned off. And that's not it. As scary as this sounds, I say to people, you need to think of AI as like more like the Industrial Revolution, like factories. This is a huge change to our economy. There was a time when most of us were farmers or
Yeah.
we worked in the small businesses in our towns and we had farming and agricultural economy. That was what our economy was based on. It's based on farming. And then we created factories and then people went to go work in factories and then there were small businesses that grew up around those factories. This is what's happening now. We're going to have a huge shift of from these professional service jobs that are going to go away,
Mm-hmm.
shift into a new type of jobs and a new type of labor system that's not based on these service jobs where you sit behind a computer all day.
And the thing, okay, so it seems to me that, with this shift, with this revolution that is occurring or about to occur, you're going to also need a higher level of education or understanding. For instance, when it comes to the time when everyone was a farmer and then we moved into the factory, you had to get more skills. When we moved into the internet, we had to get computer scientists and data engineers. So it also appears that now we're moving another step up. So, we are also going to have to upskill and even get better at what we do. Would you agree with that?
Yes. And I would also, if I were talking to an 18-year-old, I would tell that 18-year-old that over the course of their life, they would probably change professions 3 or 4 times.
Oh,
Where
wow.
to my like I'm Gen X in my 50s. So I
Mm-hmm.
was taught to go to college, get a job, and maybe you switch 2 or 3 times, but you do
Yeah.
that job until you retire. Whereas an 18-year-old right now, I would say if you can do that job for a decade, you're lucky. And then you're going to have to pivot and learn something else. Then you're going to have to pivot and learn something else because the technology is
It's
going to
changing.
continually get better. It's not going to get whatever the technology is today is
Mm-hmm.
the worst it's ever going to be. It's only going to get better. And as it gets better, humans, we have a finite ability of what we can do because we are in these human bodies and vessels.
Mm-hmm.
A computer doesn't sleep, and
Yeah.
doesn't need a vacation. It doesn't have to get up and use the restroom. It doesn't need a coffee break or a smoke break. It doesn't need any of that. And it can replicate itself 100,000 times to do a task. You and I cannot replicate our brains to do all those tasks at the same time. And so that's why the technology is just going to continuously advance.
Okay. So I know you said if you were talking to an 18-year-old, so what if you were speaking to, let's say someone in their mid-20s to their mid-30s, what would you say to them?
Mid 20s to mid 30s, I would say get a second skill. So anyone that's in college, mid 20s, let's say they have a professional, a college degree, their master's, I would say go get another skill, learn something, whether it's, how to be, and this is going to sound crazy, but things like being a bartender, learning how to braid hair, or learning how to build something, or have a skill where you can repurpose something. Have a skill that you can something that you create with your hands and you do with your hands that you can make money at. So
Mm,
if your job goes away or there's a part of your job that gets automated, then you can say, well, I can go make money doing this. So right now, a lot of people are driving for Uber, or they're doing DoorDash or doing all these things because it's a great way to make money. But a lot of people are doing it. You're going to have to find something that everybody is not doing.
it's
And you can
not
say, I can
doing.
go make money. I
Yeah.
can do this braid pattern that nobody else can do, or I can be a makeup artist, or I can develop my own skincare line, or I can do something. You have to think about something that you can do where you can make money. Nothing wrong with having a job, but you're going to have to think of something else to pivot into.
Yeah, like a different skill. Thank you so much. This has been really, oh my God, this has been really great. I feel like this is filled with lots of gems because this is what you went through and you're just basically, giving it to us for free. So I did want to ask now, I know that yes, you pivoted and you went through a challenge. You went through something that was quite intense, quite horrible. How did that experience reshape the person, the woman you are today?
That is an excellent question. I'm so thankful you asked that question. I have tremendous clarity and I have no fear, which is a little dangerous, right? So, when you go through something like this, you immediately find out who's in your corner and who isn't, who
Mm,
hangers on, who was only there when you had the big title or the big job or you made the big salary. So the people who support me, the people who say, "How do I help you?" or "Hey, come to my summer house in Florida," or "Come to my summer house in the Catskills," those people, I absolutely adore them. And then there are the people who say, "I'm going to refer you for this or open this door or make sure you can pay your mortgage, make sure you can pay the bills." Those people were my angels.
mm,
Then on top of that, the no fear, once you go through the morning, so like I said, I was depressed, no question, absolutely depressed for a good 3 months. Then when I came out of that depression and was able to see, okay, this is what's happening. Whether I like it or not, it's still happening.
still
So I
happening.
can either be sad, be angry, yell and scream at people, or I can learn from them. So even the Elon example, I say to people, let go of whatever your political views are, sit back and listen because he's telling you what's coming. He's
What's
telling you
coming?
what's happening. And
Mm,
so I started to listen and I started to pay attention. And that is what led me to learn. And I turned off the television. I have to be really honest. I watch very little television. I watch a couple of shows. I love Landman right now, and I love The Gilded Age. But other than that, I'm listening to podcasts. I'm on YouTube. You know what I pay attention to? YouTube. I probably watch an hour and a half of YouTube every day. 7 days a week. When I wake up in the morning, I listen to podcasts. When I'm getting dressed, there's a podcast playing. When I'm in the car, there's a podcast playing where I'm learning from experts around AI. Then, as I said, here I am in my 50s. I applied to a fellowship in London. A year ago, if you would have said that to me, I would have said, "You're crazy." And
yeah.
I was recommended to apply to a fellowship in London. All expenses paid, salary, you name it. And I never would have even thought about it. I have, like I said, when I get off with you, I have another fellowship to apply to. It is just the fact that now the doors that open for me that a year ago I never would have even considered. And the support system I have of people. My career coach lives in London. My I have a another career advisor. She's in Houston, and these are the people who are helping me figure out where I want to be in this AI ecosystem.
Mm, wow. That's That's incredible. I feel like, at this point, we're supposed to give you, those superhero suits so you wear us. I feel like you're just kicking ass. That's really, really great. But though, so in starting your journey, what was the hardest part of it that no one prepared you for?
The morning, a morning, and the loneliness, right? Losing my job, and I didn't lose it because of anything I did. My company went out of business,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
So there was this sense of, I had this big title, and then all of a sudden the title went away. And it was the sense of I had to figure out who I was without.
You were without that. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so that took a moment. And then I had to accept that the country had shifted, right? No matter how you feel about it, I had to accept it. And that took a moment. And there's nobody that could have prepared me. I didn't see that shift. And then, thirdly, I had to sit back and say, okay, well, what am I interested in? And who am I today? Not who have I been, but who am I today? And where do I find my place in this globe, in this world? And that took some time. but now I'm clear about it. And that sense of clarity, that sense of, okay, I can do anything. And I don't have to be a scientist, and I don't have to be an engineer or a physics
Mhm.
PhD, but I can fit in this ecosystem and I can add value. And that feels really good. But I had to work through that. Um, so when I say that I want to be a bridge and I want to help other women work through this process, because it's not easy. Our sense of self, for so many of us, our sense of self is based on our title or our business. And
Yeah.
being able to know that you are a full, incredible, talented, unbelievable person, whether you have that business, that job, that corporate, American Express card, like you take all that away and you're still incredible and you're still talented and you're still worthy. And I think that is the biggest thing. And thank you because you're helping me think through this whole concept around worthiness. We're worthy whether you have or don't have. And that was what I had to get to.
Thank you for saying that. So, when you talked about, after your company went out of business and you had to leave your job and you try to figure yourself out. I was there roughly in 2024. But the funny thing is, I was actually the one that quit my job to go into my business. But I was an application developer, right? I was in tech. So, I remember after that, people ask, "Oh, who are you? What do you do?" And I'm thinking to myself, who am I? I don't have this glamorous girl in tech title anymore. You
Right.
know, and even though, as I said, I was the one that made that decision to walk away, it was still something that I had to work through. It was still something I had to figure out. So I definitely understand you when you talk about trying to figure yourself out beyond the glamorous title and beyond all these things that you have that seemed to make you who you were. And thank you also for those kind words to the listeners, telling them that they are worthy, whether that job title is there or not. Whether you have that job title, whether you have that business or not, you're still worth it. You're still worthy. So thank you so much for that,
And
Karen.
let me add one point to that.
Mhm.
And this is the mental health side of that. Any person in your life that tries to make you feel unworthy because you don't have that title or you don't have that job or you're not blah 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 fill in the blank,
Mhm.
not someone you need around you.
Yes.
And that can be tough because it could be your friends or your family members or people that you valued and respected. And if all of the sudden they look at you and say, well, you're no longer senior vice president, so therefore you can't be in our friend circle, you can't come to brunch, you can't hang out with us. Those are people you don't need. And it may be painful and it probably will hurt. But on the other side, I promise God will send the people who fully understand how worthy you are.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Guys, you heard it. You are worthy. And if you have anyone in your life who is making you feel like you're not, please, you're not supposed to have that person around because you are worth it. Whether you have that big title, whether your business is doing well or not, you're still worth it and you're still worthy. Thank you, Karen. Um, So, as we are wrapping up, I do want to ask, how can the listeners connect with you? I'm pretty sure, I'm actually sure that, a couple will be like, oh, I want to connect with this woman. So, how can they connect with you? Do you have a business that they could also go check out?
I have so first of all, I'm super easy to find. I'm the easiest person to find. Number one on LinkedIn. It's Karen Maria Alston on LinkedIn. You
Mhm.
can also go to my website, which is KarenAlston.com, or follow me on social media. I respond to DMs. Give me a day or two. Sometimes I get a little overwhelmed, but people DM me all the time. They reach out to me on LinkedIn all the time. You can follow my journey as I do share a lot about just what I'm navigating. And as I said, I'm going to start sharing about this process and this pivot into AI. I'm probably going to do that on YouTube, but I am going to do that. So you can also go to my YouTube channel and see it. But I am happy to share. I'm happy to, schedule some time. I don't have a lot of time, but I can do 15, 30 minutes to give someone some advice and some guidance and to help people understand and to come to peace with change because change is hard and we're entering a period of rapid change. And
Yes.
so this is difficult for a lot of people because
Mhm.
it's not a computer you can just unplug. That's not what this is. And it is going to disrupt a lot of lives. And that's upsetting.
Yeah.
And we need community to navigate it.
Oh, I am so glad you talked about that. So guys, you heard it, go follow Karen Austin on KarenAustin.com for her website, Karen Marie Austin for LinkedIn. You can DM her and she would at least make time for you. And now to talk about community, because I'm really glad you brought it up. That's also why we have the Bell Sisters community. So if you're listening to this and you've been craving genuine sisterhood, honest conversation like this, Bell Sisters Collective is our community for female founders of color. It's holistic, so we talk about business, we talk about other things. This morning we're talking about makeup and how some of us couldn't even figure out makeup until after college. So if you're interested in joining, please feel free to go to our website, bellsisters.com, where you can learn more about us and, see if it feels aligned for you. Thank you. And now to our guest, Karen, I want to say a huge thank you for being part of this conversation. This is exactly why we should be talking about this. You dropped a lot of gems, and I'm just gonna calm down, go back in, start looking through because I think, you really made a lot of solid points. So I want to say thank you for coming to the Bells Beyond podcast. It has been such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. This was wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I hope to catch up with you guys in the next episode. Bye.